Welcome everybody. We're going to talk through this utility maximization problem. So obviously you've spent some time with this already, but we're going to take a look at and figure out what Nirali is going to do with the 5 hours that she's going to study for her exams. So the first thing we want to do is take a look at our columns here, okay, to see what kind of useful information we have. So since this is constantly rising as we add hours, then once notice that one goes up and one goes down, that's no big deal. But as we add hours, we're always rising, which is the indication that this is total utility. Okay, so this is the complete and total amount of improvement that Nirali is going to make as she studies. So you probably know that shouldn't be a big item to point out. But if you don't, then that is an issue that you got to work on, because most of the time we need to work our way toward marginal utility, in this case per hour. Again, notice that we have all increments of 1, so Q is changing by 1, so we don't have to worry about having a denominator that isn't 1 in our per hour. So again, just a couple little small details that I want you to point out and notice. All right, so beginning, Nirali spends 3 hours studying micro and 2 hours studying history. Calculate her gain from the second hour spent studying history. So when she goes from the first hour to the second hour, how much does she gain? And the answer, of course, is she goes from 40 to 60, which is she gains 20 points. Okay, the 20 points on the exam. That second hour earns her 20 points from a 20 to a 60, or a 40 to a 60. So I'm going to break my own rule and write the answer. Actually, no, I'll do it down here. So this is how you should always do it, in the big open white space at the bottom. So she gains 20 points. Now, you don't need to write any more than that. You don't have to phrase it in a complete sentence or whatever. This is economics. We focus on efficiency. So A, 20 points. That's all you need. Calculate Nirali's opportunity cost of the second hour studying history. So when she studies this second hour, that means that she can only study 3 hours of economics. She cannot study 4 because she's spending 2 hours over here on history. So what is she giving up? Well, the marginal cost means that she is of taking away 1 hour toward micro is 6 points. Okay, so she will spend 6 points to study the second hour, which obviously, this is not a question on the test, but if she gains 20 in history by giving up 6 in micro, then that's probably a good thing if what she's trying to do is maximize all the way around. So assume that she increases the time spent, she allocates studying history. What happens to the opportunity cost of studying history? So as she increases how much history she's studying, what is happening to the cost in terms of micro? So what we now have to do is kind of fill in our chart, which we all knew we were going to have to do eventually anyway. But, oh, wait a minute, did some bad math there. That should be 8. That should be 12, and this is 60. So what is happening to these numbers? 4, 6, 8, 12, 60. They are rising. So these numbers are rising as she studies more history, because she's going against diminishing marginal returns, right? So they're increasing marginal costs is basically the thing there. So notice this part C says to answer with an explain. So explain means you always need what and why. Okay, so you will get typically 1 point for the what and 1 point for the why. So the what is the opportunity cost rises. And the why is because with each hour sacrificed, marginal cost with so really I should say with each hour sacrificed, the marginal cost of studying less micro rises. Okay, so The what is very clear. Rises, that's, no negotiation. But the why, there's kind of a lot of different ways that you can answer that. That's how I did it, but there's other ways. Next, assume that Nirali has a goal of maximizing the sum of her test scores. How many hours should she spend for each exam? So this is the very classic question that we've done a bunch of times in class. So we got to fill out our chart. 60 to 72 is 12, 72, that's 5, and then this is 3. So now we just do what we've done a few other times, but I'm going to change colors just so we can see it a little better. So the first hour, where's she going to get the most bang for her buck? By studying an hour of micro. Second most, studying an hour of history, because 40 is the next biggest. Then 20 is the next biggest after that. Then we are tied with 12. So she studies for each, and now she's studied all of her 5. So how many hours should she study for each exam? There's no explain, so all we have to do is write it down. She should study 2 hours for micro and 3 for history. And then on to part E. Nirali learns that her tennis practice has been canceled, freeing up an additional hour for studying. Given your answer in part D, will Nirali allocate the additional hour to studying micro or history to maximize her scores? And explain using marginal analysis. So first of all, there's an explain, which means there has to be a what and why. But this time they actually tell you how you have to do it. So I've only taught you how to do these problems using marginal analysis, but in theory, you could brute force them. You could just add all of your totals, and just try every different iteration and see which gave you the most. That's a crazy slow and dumb way to do it, given that this is not that hard. So that's how you should do it. But this basically, if you did that, you wouldn't get the points because they told you have to use marginal analysis. So all you're doing is comparing. If she spends the 6th hour on micro, she'll gain 8. If she spends the 6th hour on history, she'll gain 5. And of course, 8 is bigger than 5. So your answer, she will study econ because 8 points is better than 5. And that's it, guys. So notice my answer is down here in the white section. My work is kind of wherever it makes sense to be. And I have been very clear and concise, right? So this is not much writing. I didn't write a book. I just did what I had to do and I got it done. Okay, that's really what you want to concentrate on. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you later.